Welcome to the next episode as we unload. Do you have that going live, brother? On another. Okay. We got some repeat action happening. Welcome to another live episode of Beyond the Veil. Yeah, that was on my end. Sorry about that. Welcome to another live episode of Beyond the Veil, an unusual podcast. I'm your host, Drewpocalypse, the apocalyptic apostle, also known as Drewzy, Jay.Drewz, and several other monikers with different meaning and similar connotation. But nonetheless, we have Black Sun Shaman, the co-host with the most. And we're getting ready to come at you with another live episode once again of Beyond the Veil. We got another special guest going to pop in here in a little while. So hold on to your seats and, get comfy because we're going to bring it to you live tonight. And if you're joining us at any point in time, like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Tonight's episode is What Is It About Us? What is it about the U.S.? What does it matter now? And the 4 phases of a plan that is underway currently. We're going to flash back to some Steve Coakley / Baba Dick Gregory, type action within this episode. Should we be able to get into that, that will give us some context on these current events and what we're really seeing that's underway and this unfolding day by day with this government shutdown. What's up, T?
Not too much, man. Not too much. Holding on to my seat as these current events keep unfolding around me like it's like a fireworks show or something, man. I don't know. I'm trying to keep it calm as all of this is going on.
Gotta be still that heartbeat. Yes, indeedy. I know what you mean. Yeah, man, it's getting kind of crazy. For those of us that have been aware, I don't like the word woke because we used that word in the 90s and it actually had a more positive, ring to it and a more positive associated meaning. That and conspiracy theorists have taken on a negative light due to the involvement of the framing of alphabet agencies and the like. So,
who could receive a lot of trouble if the masses wake up because they're so small in number.
Facts. But yeah, man, I noticed that you had to change locations and there might be a little law in action. I'm hoping that
Please check out material to select all pronouns.
Hoping that our special guest to be able to join us before the relocation takes place. We might have to put this on pause, y'all. But I think here he comes.
All right.
Yeah. So it looks like we might have to carry the conversation. This is one of my relatives, my close relatives, my ace kaboom, as they say.
What's going on, cousin? What's going on, brother Terrence?
Not too much, man. Not too much.
But this is definitely a family affair type discussion. That's why we're going to roll this way tonight.
Mm-hmm. What did I miss?
You didn't miss anything. Just to introduce.
Okay.
Just to introduce.
Okay.
T's going to have to relocate, but rejoin us in about 10, 15 minutes.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
So we're just going to carry the flow of the content and the conversation for the audience to be enlightened. I didn't get to share with you some of the articles and things that we're going to probably display for reaction purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, T's rolling out now. So he'll be rejoining us. You know, the link. Remember, the link is in your Google chat, T. But yeah. Anyway, we're gonna roll out. Continue on with this rather. So the title of this thing is "What is it about us? What is it about the U.S.? Um, who we are. Why does it matter now? And what the current four-stage plan or four-phase plan that's underway is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was sharing with the audience as you were joining us, it's going to be reminiscent and a direct flashback, more than reminiscent. Let me be careful with my words here. Baba Dick Gregory, Steve Coakley, some things that they were rolling out to our people,
Mm-hmm.
In the last 30 years. They were hitting heavy on it, in the late 80s and early 90s phase of our coalescence as a
Mm-hmm.
community, becoming ever more aware. Like I was saying, I don't like the term woke only
Right.
because we used that in the 90s and it had a completely positive, context to it. People like Common, they were woke. People
Mm-hmm.
like CeeLo Green were woke
Right.
because they woke us up. Their words were the beginning of an
Inspiring.
awakening and an inspiration for a lot of us,
Mm-hmm.
to open up to greater knowledge, wisdom, and
Indeed.
understanding. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, man, I wanted to
What
get
is
your,
it about us, and
yeah,
what is it about the U.S., the U.S.
right.
Because obviously you're saying us and then U.S. So that's
Yes.
a good way of, saying it. And, you know, like we've talked before, yeah, what is it about us? You know, why is it that the godfather of soul, James Brown, why did he say, I've got soul and I'm super bad? You know, nobody else on the planet has said anything in reference to soul in their music. Because even with that, we had soul music, which was obviously the likes of Al Green, Marvin Gaye, Teddy Pendergrass, but even before them, because it was really started with Sam Cooke, right? And then it segued into, those other artists, right? But what is it about us and what we have soulfully and spiritually that projects itself in the physical, i.e., music, fashion, uh, slang, dancing, art, whatever it may be? It's like, what is it about us? Why? Yeah, now you can find crack, cocaine
Right.
everywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came out, it was only from what I understand, it actually started in Oakland, California, then made its
Yes.
way to LA. And then from there, it got distributed out to the rest of the United States. But with that said, okay, I've been to the Bay Area a few times.
Yeah.
So why did it pertain to Oakland and not San Francisco or San Jose
It actually,
or
I'm glad you said
okay?
that.
Hmm.
It actually, the experimentation was in San Francisco.
Okay. Well, I can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Well, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, the
Why
labs,
in
they
San
literally said
Francisco?
they had monkeys in the basement of a
Hmm.
building in San Francisco that they gave crack cocaine first.
Okay, but what
They,
else do we know about, San Francisco as well, and the lifestyle, the partying, and so on and so forth, right? So, of course, but what I'm
yeah.
saying is that it didn't spread. It was in Oakland, primarily East Oakland, in Richmond, Vallejo, that area, right? But why
Yeah.
wasn't it down in San Jose? Why wasn't it in Sausalito, Novato, Petaluma, those, other outlying, Bay Area cities and
Yeah.
towns? We obviously know the reason why. Why didn't it make its way to, Idaho Falls? Why didn't it make its way to Missoula, Montana, or small
Well,
town Colorado or Wyoming?
let's let's just take a quick focused look at that just
Mm-hmm.
briefly. The hate Asbury.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hate Asbury, that area, that was key in the free love, make
Right.
love not war movement. The what they call the hippies were there,
Right.
and it was a coalescence of cultural unity in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of promoting peace and what they call diversity, equity, and inclusion now.
Right.
So it was a quick way to spread it to people of color,
Right. Right.
and black people in particular, as they referred to us. And
Right.
as you alluded to with James Brown, he not only said "I got soul," but later on he said "Say it loud," right?
Right.
And the children of Oakland were behind him saying, "I'm black and I'm
Right.
proud."
Right. They had the children say it.
Right, not him.
See, not him.
Right.
And then we know, as we've talked about before, when it comes to, the movie The Black Panther, that comic book came out in 1966. That's when the Black Panthers officially came out in Oakland, California in 1966. And just for you all that don't know this, Wakanda has nothing to do with Africa. That word comes from the Siouan speaking languages. It's not of an African language, dialect, tongue. So everything that they showed you in that movie pertains to what we call America, and that includes North, Central, and South. And everything that they have indoctrinated us with in school, college, university, it's in reverse. So when they tell you that such and so happened over in Africa or in Europe or in Asia, more than likely it happened here in the Americas first. And that also includes the Caribbean islands. So there's just so much to unpack when you do the research yourself. There's a lot that's unfolding, but if you don't do the research, you won't know how to look at that information with the proper eyes, with the proper context, because you have to know for yourself. You can't let Fox News or, you know, CNN. Yeah, you can get snippets of information and you're like, "Oh, I never thought of that. Let me go look it up." But ultimately, you have to look things up for yourself so you can verify and know that, okay, I know this for me. You have to know it for yourself.
Boom. So yeah, I just brought up when the comic was released.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So now, just like you were saying, now let's look at when the party was founded officially.
Hmm.
Is that coincidental? And is it connected?
Well, it's funny because from what I had learned about the Black Panthers, they actually formed in a small town in Alabama
Mm-hmm.
originally,
Mm-hmm.
but because of as they call it, the Great Migration that happened all the way up until the 1970s with our people, depending on what, state you were from, you know, kind of like dictated where you went because you already had family there. So typically, our brothers and sisters from Texas and Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Memphis. Typically, they went to California, went to Colorado, Arizona, Washington State, and Oregon. And typically are people that are from Alabama, Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas, Virginia, middle, eastern Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, Maryland. They went, to Detroit, Cleveland, Youngstown, Chicago, New York, DC, Baltimore, Harrisburg, so on, right? So, a lot of things are coincidence, and then a lot of things are, by design and planned. And we are starting to realize that because of us being kept in the dark. I shouldn't say for so long, but you could say like our parents' generation. If your parents are say 70 to 85, that generation, they kept you in the dark, because if you talk to our elders that are 80 and older, and if you ask them, did they teach you anything about us coming from Africa in school? They're going to tell you no. But if you talk to ones that are basically, 79 and down, that they're going to tell you yes, because, that's when they started teaching that back in the late 60s, early 70s, right?
Mhm.
So, obviously it depends on, the household that you grew up in, the generation that your parents, come from, your grandparents, so on and so forth. So obviously, with us growing up, our elders didn't tell us anything about, coming from Africa. They always told us, Indian.
Right.
They never obviously mentioned anything about Africa.
If we could backstep just a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about the place of origin of the Black Panther Party, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prior to them being founded, there was a group called the Deacons for Defense.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard of them.
Right. And the Black Panther Party's full title officially was the Black Panther Party for Freedom and Self-Defense.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
and then right at the mid 1950s, I want to say, was it 56, when they did the march in Alabama, Selma, where the brother got shot on the bridge, and it just so happened the cameras were rolling. You know what I'm talking about?
You
And
talking about when they were going across the Edmund Pettus Bridge and the
Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Alabama State Patrol stormed on them?
Edmund Pettus Bridge, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say after that incident, Martin Luther King Jr. was addressing the media, and in the background, it was a man that was called Stokely Carmichael at the time,
Mm-hmm.
began to lead the crowd in a chant of Black Power.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there's a movement, and I apologize for not having the receipts right here, but those of you who really like to go on a deep dive and a deep dig, a group called the US's movement, okay, piggybacked Stokely Carmichael, and I'm not sure if he was involved with that group. I want to say he did help in the structuring or founding of it in some way. Don't quote me on that, but the US's movement, they would say Ungawa, Black Power, right now. So eventually the Black Panther parties, they would say white power to white people, yellow power to yellow people, red power to red people, and brown power to brown people, black power to black people, all power to the people. Right? But the US's movement agenda was Ungawa, Black power right now. So that became the overtone, but everyone else seemed to piggyback that particular movement, and then not realizing the dehumanizing of the former indigenous people that were being addressed as Negro, and which is what the meaning of the civil rights movement that was being led by King and others. I want to note that as well, and others. was the Negro Civil Rights Movement.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that the Negro had been reclassified from Amerindian, in American Indian,
Mm-hmm.
indigenous, and terms of the like.
Right.
Not Native American yet, because as you know, Dane Calloway has pointed out many a time that term wasn't really addressing a group of people that were assumed to be First Nations until the 1970s. I want to say around 72 or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
72, 73. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's funny because it's like they would flip flop with American
right.
Indian and then Native American. And I saw a post on Facebook not too long ago with the Choctaw, and it was the American Indigenous. And I'm like, okay, so American Indigenous now.
Mhm.
And this is I believe they are one of the federally recognized Choctaw. And mind you, yeah, there's a difference between saying Choctaw and Chata. So these
Choctaw,
people
right?
were Choctaw. They weren't Chata. Anyway,
Yeah,
it was a thing where, okay, I'm looking at that and it's like, okay, so is that going to be used now as another classification to say that, oh, we're American Indigenous? And it's like, well, nobody, and that's the other thing. It's like nobody is looking up what these words mean.
yes, correct.
That's it's like, okay, I'm indigenous, I'm native. Okay. And yeah, so is everyone else that's born in the United States. So that doesn't make you anything special, but you can't say origine, aboriginal, or autochthonous. It's always native. So, things that make you say,
Now, here's a funny thing. Now that's the one of the real Wakandas, because there's more than one Wakanda. That's
right.
another thing I would like people to fully recognize and understand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is the placard that is at one of the monumental sites at
Mm-hmm.
the Menominee, Wakanda Park, and it
Okay.
says prehistoric Indian mounds,
Okay.
group of ancient mortuary mounds, probably erected by the Dakotas or Sioux, the prehistoric Indian inhabitants of this region, located on an Indian village site, preserved and marked by the city of Menominee Park. Okay, make that out. Park Board,
Mm-hmm.
May 26, 1935. So this is way before 1966. I just want y'all to understand
Mm-hmm.
where the inspiration for the term or the use of the word Wakanda, even in the sense of the comic book,
Mm-hmm.
though most would not assume that it was steeped in any reality, Stan Lee liked to use, that which was real, and give you an allegorical presentation and
Mm-hmm.
relaying in real time to you something that happened before or was currently at that moment still happening, but with a fictional, um, metaphysical twist to it, so to
Right.
speak. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if we have feedback coming from your phone or if you're on your laptop, but
No.
I apologize. I probably should have asked you if you had earbuds, but
No, I do have earbuds. Let me,
okay,
yeah, because I'm in my room. So,
you're fine. Yeah,
yeah.
if are they connected to your earbuds? Are you connected?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not figuring out why I have that feedback. I apologize. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's minor. It's not major, so hopefully it's not bleeding through too much on the audience side. But yeah, we're going to keep it moving anyhow.
Yeah. And
Like,
then,
share, and
like,
subscribe, y'all. Like, share, and subscribe Beyond the Veil and the Usual podcast. This is my cousin. I didn't give him a proper introduction. DC. I don't know if he wants his government fully out there, but this is my real cousin.
yes.
We both do real research. We've been uncovering our family story. He's been doing the majority of the legwork as far as like getting what is it, ethnographic researchers or genealogists. I don't
Yeah,
know.
genealogist. Yeah,
Genealogists. Okay.
yeah.
But
So,
yeah,
yeah, we are connected through our grandparents. Our grandparents are siblings,
right. Yep.
and we were told growing up, by basically all of our elders that we were, American Indian, and
That's a
I,
fact.
had an elder cousin tell me when I was 17, more specifically, what nation we came from. So, as my cousin mentioned, I've been working with over the last, almost, well, 3.5 years, I've worked with 3 different genealogists. So the prior one to the current one, she found our Wyandotte ancestry. And the one that I'm currently working with, she discovered our Piscataway Kanoi ancestry. So we are, in fact, original to this land. We haven't found, no African ancestry has been found. If
Yeah.
there is, it'll be admixture because I've discovered European admixture, So just because you have admixture, you descend from those people, but if you don't have any connection to the culture, the language, the customs, or whatever, I mean,
Right.
there's really no connection except for, DNA. So my connection and what I know is, North America, what we call North America,
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
Obviously the majority of us. So, we're documented. There's there's two. Well,
Yeah.
in
Two
on one
chiefs who are
side,
directly
there's
related.
right, in our direct bloodline, there's 2 chiefs.
Yeah.
So so that's the thing when you do genealogy, you find out who you are by documentation. There's no spitting in a tube or taking a swab and sending it into a lab, because for those of you out there that have had to do paternity tests, you've gone to a certified lab that's certified by the court, and you've done a blood draw. You didn't do any saliva. So if you had to do if you had to do blood in order to prove paternity, how is saliva going to tell you who your foremothers and forefathers were from, a few hundred to maybe 1,000 years ago? That doesn't make any sense.
It's not, because that's what's called autosomal DNA, which is the patriarchal DNA. And that patriarchal DNA is primarily used to determine paternity and blood relatives, not ancestors, but blood
Exactly.
relatives that come through your patriarchal line of
Mhm.
descendancy. But
Mhm.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to share a video for reaction purposes, and we're going to shout out the originator of the content, as we always do. But I'm going to bring this up, and we're going to react to it. You've already kind of shed the light that's necessary on it.
Mhm.
So we'll just let this elevated mental, shout out elevated.mental Instagram. This was shared to me by my lady. Yeah, my queen. Hi, honey. She's off camera, but I'm speaking to her. She's trying to give me that shady look. No, I'm playing. But she shared this with me. But this is something that I've been, oh my God, probably talking her ear off about for years. And she came across this, so I want to share this with the audience and with you all tonight. So here, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead.
It's from major testing companies reveal they actively suppress Native American markers in Black customers' results. These companies use special algorithms designed to inflate African percentages while hiding Indigenous ancestry. Second, genetic counselors receive training manuals instructing them to dismiss Native American results in Black patients as database errors. They're told to redirect conversations back to African heritage, even when Native markers are clearly present. Third, the federal government provides financial incentives to DNA companies that maintain the African narrative. Companies receive subsidies for keeping Black Americans classified as primarily African descent. Fourth, pharmaceutical companies access the real genetic data showing Native ancestry for medical research. But this same accurate information gets hidden from the actual customers who paid for testing. Fifth, over 80% of people labeled African American possess significant Native American ancestry. This massive cover-up prevents the largest indigenous population from reclaiming their true.
Only pausing this to say what the content creator means to say is American or Amerindian
Right.
ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
But some people use them interchangeably, which is a misnomer.
Mm-hmm.
True birthright and ancestral territories.
Ooh, comments, thoughts.
Well, go ahead, Terrence.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, suppressing it and tying us to Africa, and then there's a North African Moor that supports that and tells us to call ourselves Black, and there's a NOI that supports that and tells us to call ourselves Clarence X and Malcolm X and so forth and so on. So, it's just in perfect alignment with the agenda to disassociate you from your actual lineage and name.
What I think is interesting is how the government, gives them money to keep quiet, don't tell these people, when in fact, that's the crazy thing. Like, of course, we've all been hoodwinked and bamboozled. Yeah, there's some of our people that, they never bought into any of this rhetoric, right? But for the most part,
Eric Edwards.
The truth has been hidden for years. Exactly. Indeed, Eric. That is, no farther from the truth. And that's the whole thing. So that ties into what I was going to, what Eric just said, is that, we've all been, as Brother Malcolm said, you've been hoodwinked, you've been bamboozled. But at the same time, you have been so far removed from who you really are by narratives and, on paper. And then you try to talk to, some of our brothers and sisters about any of this, and they get so defensive and want to throw a tantrum, as a cousin of mine put it, and you hate yourself, and you just don't want to be who you are, and blah, blah, blah.
You're just a self-hating African. You'd rather be anything but African.
Right.
Or anything but Black. Or anything but Black.
See, you know what? Look, let me just say this, man. Black, we're going to get into that. I got something real special. What Senator Scott Beeson apologized for calling Black people Aborigines? But he was okay. Let's get into this for a moment here. Look. Let's see where the article. This has been a minute since I pulled this up here. Beeson, in a press conference, said he was sorry for the remark, calling it both inappropriate and careless and unnecessary. But some senators said Beeson's apology is inadequate and that he should step down as chairman of the powerful Senate Rules Committee. Let's go back a little bit. On Tuesday, Beeson apologized for a comment he made referring to Black people as Aborigines. Shouldn't it be the other round? Shouldn't y'all be apologizing for calling Aborigines Black people? I mean, after all, a European American can go by any number of nations that describe their ethnicity or nationality, and they can at times be one and the same. A person that is of Irish descent is an Irish American. A person that is of British descent, is a British or English American, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the term that's missing from that is national, because see, even that deals with a national identity as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to a familial or tribal tie or connection. So see, these terms have been flip-flopped and bounced around at so many levels, right?
Right.
That people think you're being semantical when you correct them from saying something like black people,
Mm-hmm.
because we've become so comfortable with being dehumanized
Mm-hmm.
by being referred to in a pejorative light. When the Moors called the European children and their parents black, it was black, bleach,
Mm-hmm.
blank, without color,
Mm-hmm.
pale, lacking luster,
Mm-hmm.
not shiny, right? But when they referred to themselves as white, they didn't spell it WHITE, they spelled it WIGHT,
Mm-hmm.
which in the legal definition is a true and living or natural living person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy when this man was forced to apologize to keep his
Mm-hmm.
position on that committee, but he
Mm-hmm.
was trying to bring transparency.
Right.
So this is
In
just, I wanted to,
Alabama, of
right
all
in out,
places.
yeah,
Yeah. In Alabama, because you would think that in liberal California or liberal Oregon or liberal Washington State, that, oh, yeah, that's something that they would say. But he's from Alabama, of all places. And that's the whole thing is that because of the society that we live in now, people, they don't want to hear what we would say is the truth. They want to keep hearing the same narratives that are given to them over and over and over again. And then just like, okay, for an example, you can look this up on Florida's website, on their government, on the governor's web page, of how they passed legislation for pollution, more specifically, air pollution and chemtrails. So, okay, to all the naysayers and to all of the conspiracy theorists, what do you have to say about that? So, if a state said, okay, we want our airspace clean, we want our water clean, that's no conspiracy. That obviously means that something was been going. Well, things have been going on. So, you know, a lot of this, a lot of this just it obviously isn't for everyone.
You know,
And what I mean by that, oh, go ahead.
a lot of them have, just real quick, a lot of them have
Mm-hmm.
hindrances due to systematic programming.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come to the truth and they'll come to the revelation of what actually is versus
Mm-hmm.
what's been taught. But because they've been taught and developed a niceness of camaraderie or a group
Mm-hmm.
based on whatever religious perspective, schooling perspective,
Mm-hmm.
education in whatever form,
Right.
media programming in whatever form, because they want to stay a part of that group, like this guy who was about to get kicked out of a group for telling the truth. They don't
Right.
want to get kicked out of the religious organization, schooling organization, college organization, business organization,
Right.
that would directly contradict. Because if you're saying the origin is not what my religion, my school taught me, then you need to go against that indoctrination, whether it be the school or the religion, would cause me to lose potentially everything I've established, especially if my working foundation
Right.
is in those systematic,
Exactly. Yeah. It's
systems.
like everything that I've worked hard for and built, I'm supposed to throw it all away based off of a comment or a remark I made. Oh no, I can't do that. It's like, okay, so, what are you willing to lose, let go? Because, yeah, like, things come at a cost,
And
like, oh, go ahead, cousin.
oh, and I dare to just add this, because T and I deal with the houses a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine this: you've been indoctrinated or initiated into the house, but you haven't reached that level of initiation where your oath required you to not divulge situations like that, where
Mm-hmm.
people's entire identities have been um, switched out. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Black
trading
Mm-hmm.
power.
places, like
Black
trading
power.
places, right?
Right.
Exactly. So
Right.
Eric Edwards, yeah. We know a lot of European bloodlines are mixed from the what you call the Middle East. But my question to you would be, if there's a Middle East, where's the middle, north, south, and west?
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Levantine or the Levant, and it means a debt that can only be paid in blood, right? And I won't even get biblical tonight because I can go that route, for dissertation purposes. But let's just say like this: those people are more so descended from the Turkish region of the steppe, and their former identity was Scythian and became Khazarian, and then it became Ashkenazim.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Okay. Those people did intermix with the Anglo and the Saxon, which were already tribes that were from what we now call Europe, formerly known as Eurasia. And those particular people were not the same people. They did become, infiltrated through admixture. They did evolve from a state of being that they once held into a different mindset. And we've watched throughout history as that has progressed
Mm-hmm.
positively and negatively over
Mm-hmm.
the globe. But they definitely have admixture with the peoples of the islands that were once called the British Isles. And those people, there's a record of them leaving North America for those islands and then coming back at later times for various reasons, both against their will and at their own behest and
And
judgment. So,
and there was a pre-colonial European presence that wasn't necessarily colonizer.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
You,
in our
you
own
know what I mean?
ancestry, yeah, Dave D, you've shown me uh, Netherlands,
Oh yeah.
the
So
1500s, before prior to
yeah.
colonization, not
Yeah.
involved in the colonization process, not co-owners
Right.
in the Dutch East India Company or anything of the like of that type
Well,
of trafficking per se. But
no, but as far as I know, it looks like he mm, probably worked for them.
yeah, as a
Yeah.
mayor,
Yeah. So
yeah,
I guess let me be more specific so the
yeah,
audience is
yeah,
in the dark. So like I said, with this doing this genealogy, that is when you find out who you are.
fact,
You create a paper trail. You obviously start with yourself and you work back as far as you can. So when it comes to us, so-called African Americans, Black Americans, are always talking about, I hit a brick wall, or I can't go beyond this. I
The
can't,
fourth
can't
generation.
fourth generation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've gone back. I'm seeing, well, I'm seeing, even 10th great grandparents and beyond. Yeah, some of them are from Europe and some of them are from here. So this grandfather that I'm mentioning, he was Dutch, and he would be a 10th great grandfather. So that's admixture, right? But also we have a 10th great grandfather that was the Tayak of the Piscataway Kanoi, which I'm finding out. So that's
right,
what happens when you do genealogy.
right.
So yeah, but it's funny, they might have not been the actual colonizer, but they were the quote unquote explorer, aka the spy.
Well, not just that, they were the first convert. See, when we deal with political parties, we have to understand where this even originates.
Mm-hmm.
Mindsets. You had a group that wanted to progress and that viewed that progress was wearing button-down shirts and slacks
Mm-hmm.
or blouses and carrying muskets as opposed to their traditional weaponry or tribal symbolism, that was like talismans of power and authority, right? They traded that for the rifle in some instances, like that. The T-shirt I used to have that they sold at all the powwows, you know, American, what was it called? Homeland
Homeland
Security
Securities since
fighting
1492.
terrorism since 1492,
1492.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because none of those chiefs were around in Hispaniola. None of those chiefs had anything to do with the Haitian Revolution. So
Right.
it was just funny how we co-opt once amongst one another
Mm-hmm.
the visage and imagery that we would like to accept, and we reject that which we feel is shameful. Terrence and I talk about, and I know you've seen our episodes and been watching live at times when we talk about the Boule.
Mm-hmm.
What are the leadership in the Boule called? The Council of Chiefs.
Yes.
So where did
yes.
that start from? It started from chiefs that wanted to view the progressive way of life, what we would call democratic thought. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it like it's right or wrong versus a
Mm-hmm.
republic or Republican mindset, because
Mm-hmm.
as far as I'm concerned, they took both from indigenous peoples across the globe that they encountered, including our ancestors here. So the Haudenosaunee Longhouse, for example, I want to
Mm-hmm.
go in. I want to show some more information, some more receipts, because I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to be more receipt oriented and things that people can easily access for themselves as well. Excuse me.
I would just throw this in there. I would just want to throw this in there. When they talk about tribes, even when you get into biblical text talking about foundational stories, you know what I mean? They get into tribes, but you can find the native tribe, or I use native, but you can find the tribes that were here pre-colonial. Before all of the forced migrations. You can find the names of those tribes, you can locate those people, but then they have names to protect the innocent or names to protect the guilty or whatever you want to call it. But you'll have biblical tribes and you'll have these other tribes that they make reference to that was, in a pre-colonial time period, but you can't find them. And, I speculate, this is a speculative theory, that the tribes that they're basing their stories off of was the tribes that they forced migrated and tried to erase from history. This is why they were dispersed and so forth and so on. And is because we went through colonial forced migrations, and then our indigenous ways, whether it be religious, mathematics, or architecture, was adopted by another culture and said to be theirs.
Shout out Jesus, pal. Yeah, but first they would always come in to what? To learn the culture.
Yeah.
Right. For them to adopt and adapt the culture for themselves in a way that they could find palatable and adaptable. Because I mean, come on, that doom, 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 doom. That's not a polyrhythm, and that's not us. And it's crazy because that was purposely done so that when we hear sonically, even certain music, we attribute the polyrhythm to Africa, as if we didn't have and don't have, in some instances, an equal or if not greater sense for polyrhythmic expression. For example, go-go music, okay? Things like that, jazz,
House,
funk. Yeah, I leave house alone. So sorry.
I'm from Detroit. You
That
know what I mean?
no disrespect
it's a
to
staple.
Detroit.
It's a staple.
Okay.
Hey, no disrespect to Detroit. I know how y'all get down, but other places, that's for persuasion. Shout out Jesus. Shout out Jesus. What's going on?
Jesus, much love to Hootie, much love.
But it's funny because with that said, they'll say, "Oh, African polyrhythms," but then why wasn't jazz, blues, hip hop, funk? Why wasn't it created in Africa if it derives from Western Central African music? It's like, yeah, okay.
Well,
Another.
You know what their answer would be? There wasn't the same type of oppression.
Oh,
It's always their hand in it that brought about the genius and the creativity out of us. Like they weren't doing the same thing to the Africans. But why didn't they come out like you said? Why wasn't the result the same?
Right.
If your hand of of oppression was the same, why wasn't that art generated from those people if they're
Right.
us, and vice
Right.
versa?
Mm-hmm.
Their expression was different. Not saying
Well,
it's any less
it just goes
beautiful.
back to
No,
basically the title is what is it about us and what is it about the U.S. So what is it about us is that we're the standard
yeah,
on the planet and
I,
have been. Where's Africa's Michael Jackson? Where's
Hold on,
Africa's
hold
the
on.
Prince?
North
Before
African
we
War arrived over here pre-colonial. So even if you want to get into music and say that they're saying that the foundation is because you got it from a North African Moor that arrived over here pre-colonial, he was still influenced heavily. Not even I don't even know how to say how heavily. Influenced very heavily by the people who were already in this location. So a lot of what is attributed to them is only based on because they brought the colonizers' Muslim religion over here and brought
Well,
that.
they were the colonizer Muslims.
right, exactly.
they were the colonizer, Muslim, Christian, and Jew.
Yeah, this is true.
That's the
Yes.
big facts. And
So
they
so my bad.
No worries. I'm just saying they came over here with that. And so a lot of the things that you attribute into African, you might see me with my beads on, and you automatically assume that these beads is a representation of something African or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not having no idea that is pre-colonial and that it has to do with natives who were doing beadwork here. You would have automatically associated with Africa, but that's only because a North African Moor told you to do that.
And because obviously indoctrination. So, like, for an example, I mean, down in Alabama, what people call the evil eye or the Hamza has been found in the mound building culture.
I can see it right now.
Okay, so but people are going to argue with you like, oh, no, that's a made up artifact, or that's false, or no, because of obviously the indoctrination. So that's why I said earlier, what they've been telling us is in reverse.
Absolutely.
See?
Absolutely. But even with the Hamza and the hand of Fatima, as they call it in Islam, like that symbol was universal all over the planet, because there's never a time that the planet existed that man wasn't, and that man and woman looked like us.
Right.
And the thing is, even not so much just the looks, we're talking about the origin, the roots of the bloodlines, and the genetic lines that were produced through a line age, going back through the age of a line, bloodline. Even the term evil eye comes from Emale Ojo, and that's something Spanish. Okay, that's a Spanish addition to a group of island people that were culturally mixed with Africans that were indigenous and brought over to the islands, and forced to intermarry or interact through work and the like with those people that were already there. And so the adaptability of the usage became based on context. They were beating and killing and feeding their children to alligators and such. You gave that particular symbol to a person whose child you were passing the same pain on to. If we, when we get into those kind of discussions, we have to get into the real root, the real actual meaning in the usage in that context. But, that's also goes back to, Kemet. And even with that, I hear a lot of people, off base with their interpretation of the usage and the meaning. But I want to get into the indoctrination, because you brought that up, and I was trying to bring this up as you were bringing that up. But this is the Society for the Propagation of the Gospel in Foreign Parts. Can you guys see that on the screen? Cool. All right. So it gives you a description. It talks about the name variant Episcopal missionaries, right? So it goes into the location of its founding in London, England, and we'll look and they'll show us the years. And this ties into what T was bringing up about the migration. This was the preparation for the migration. It started early on, and it even deals with tribes or the nations that they encountered and what they were doing there. The Society for the Propagation of the Gospel in Foreign Parts is an Anglican missionary organization. It was founded in 1701 to promote Anglicanism. Does that say Christianity? Christianity, excuse me.
No, it does not.
Does it say Islam?
No, it does not.
Does it say Judaism?
Does not.
Buddhism?
Not at all.
Universalist faith beliefs?
Not even close.
Okay, so Anglicanism worldwide. In the American colonies, the SPG not only pursued missionary efforts among Indians, what do they call them?
Indians.
Oh, Indians, and African slaves. It also strove to convert members of dissenting sects or sects that had split from the Church of England, including Congregationalists, Presbyterians, Quakers, and Baptists.
Oh, a little
clashed
side
with the
note.
SPG. What happened?
A little side note. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. So when they say India, as we know it today, that name, that what we call country, India, they didn't get that until after colonialism in what was it, 48, 49?
It was somewhere after the United
Nations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in that time frame. So when they
Just
say
like
Indian, well, what I'm saying is that, you know, they say, you know, oh, they so-called Christopher Columbus and his entourage, oh, they were lost. They thought they were in India. No, they didn't, because that term didn't exist for that present day landmass or country. It was obviously, for what we know it was called Bharat or Hindustan. So when they say, oh, they were lost, no, they weren't lost. They knew exactly where they were going.
Because the Moors wasn't about to lead Christopher Columbus and those particular group of Jewish expats from Spain to the New World. They knew the route, right?
Mm-hmm.
They took them to that island in particular and introduced them to those people, and not sure of what they were going to do to the people they did encounter once they encountered people, because the Moors knew that they were people and where those people were. Christopher Columbus did 14 years in prison. And then his little brother came out on another mission 2 years later to the same island and finished the job. And, you know, Cabeza de Vaca and what's the other one's name? What's the other navigator's name that was supposedly leading them? Anybody remember?
I forget.
North.
Well, yeah, let's get back to this real quick. So, yeah, so it goes into explaining the Wheelock clash with the SPG over access to the Six Nations. Starting in 1704, the Society for the Propagation of the Gospel sent periodic missionaries to the Haudenosaunee, Iroquois people, especially the Mohawks. Anglican influence in the area expanded with the appointment of Sir William Johnson, the superintendent of British Indian Affairs in the Northeast, and an Anglican who set up his headquarters in Mohawk territory. Johnson was also Wheelock's link to the Six Nations. He was willing to help Wheelock as long as the SPG was not trying to place missionaries among the Six Nations. However, as soon as Anglican missionaries were available, he supported them to exclusion of Wheelock's missionaries. Thus, religion was yet another factor in the dissolution of Johnson and Wheelock's relationship. So the religion not only broke up the Indians' families, it broke up these folks in dealing with one another. Because they didn't want them to have access to the real religion. And the other ones was like, yeah, we just basically trying to get in good so we can sit here and spy. That's basically what they're admitting to right there. I just wanted the audience to be able to, you can check that out. It's an article in Dartmouth Libraries, and you look up the Society for the Propagation of the Gospel in Foreign Parts, you should be able to.
And then I just want to use some logical thought here. If God created everything, then God pre-existed everything. Okay, so how did God not be discovered, write downable, definable until they were given a biblical text or till some Romans gave you the thumbs up or made some changes? It wasn't until then, or till a Muslim got a hold of it, or till a Buddhist got a hold of it, or to whoever got a hold of it. God pre-existed all of those things. So if I wanted to find the oldest, this is just using logical thought, if I wanted to find the oldest representation of God, then I would go back to an ancient culture that preceded colonialism, because colonialism remixed and used these tools for colonization. So if I wanted to find out something that was closer to what it is, closer to nature, closer to the reality of what it is, and I know that they remixed from pre-existing cultures, then I shouldn't even eat that, because it would be like eating bad stuff when you have a choice of finding something better than what you're eating. You know what I mean?
I will shock you that I have a problem with what you're saying right now.
My terminology, I know.
No, I have a problem with your premise, but not for what you might think conventionally. It's because contextually, we only know about the oldest societies across the water. For example, if you look up the true origin of Christianity, it is African. And in particular, it is Northeast African. And if you want to get even further particular, when you trace the roots, it goes all the way back into India, just like Judaism. The menorah and the chakras are directly correlated with one another, right? When you deal with the Karast, the Krishna, and Christos, you have no Christos without a Krishna and a Karast. Okay? But over here, when they were finding things that they discovered we already had, and why any of that even resonated with our ancestors on any level where they were able to spend time discussing it without being treated like Shaka did with the one dude. He's like, your God died? Up in the story. I'm the son of God. I'm not listening to nothing else you got to say. Like, we're done here. Okay. The reason why they didn't get that response here is because they found writings, both in stone, both on walls, and then even on papyri, that were stashed in places like the many museums that are under the umbrella of the Smithsonian. And then when people like Glenn Beck, for example, comes on a Fox News station and does a Black History Friday, and then starts exposing what they consider to be Paleo Hebrew.
The giants, brother. The giants. There are artifacts that you can go to.
Yeah.
I've been to them, bro. It'd be like a little small shack on the side of a road in a town. You know what I mean? And then you walk in there,
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
And you walk in there and they got a axe this big, talking about some man was using this axe. Who you talking to? You got a basket this big that don't even got a handle that somebody could pick up. You got in order for you to pick up this basket, you're gonna have to throw it across your back. You know what I'm saying? And pick up, but then you're gonna drop everything out. Who's carrying this basket? Where you get that footprint from? You talking about it's a moccasin and a snowshoe. I'm looking at toe prints. What are you talking about? So when you get into that biblical story where they be like, we went over to the Anakites and we got to the Anakites and we seen that the Anakites were giants and they were trying to take over the land. I'm not saying that that's in reference to here, but I'm saying that the giants were here. I know they were here. So if you going to colonize a land, I mean, take over a land, I mean, steal some land, you know what I mean? Or whatever you going to do. And then you send out scouts and the scouts come back and tell you giants, then you definitely want to look historically and figure out where them redhead giants were located.
Or like Deuteronomy 1:8. They always want to quote 28 verse 68, but they don't want to look at 1:8 when it describes that they were told to go in and possess the land. I mean, where we hear the term possession most most commonly when it comes in a religious context to possession, and we're talking about demons,
Hmm.
and we're talking about a group of beings. I'll be kind. That were considered parasitic, and then often referred to us as filthy eaters, breeders, and the like. But they live off of the efforts, labors, and relationship that we have with nature and or God or a creator, and misinterpreted intentionally our henotheistic beliefs and honor for the creator in all living things that we could consider part of creation and even above. Um, so that's the reason why I said I had an issue with what you're saying, not because I have an issue with you, but typically the understanding. I know you have a beyond typical understanding though, but the typical understanding of the words you used would be, oh, he's talking about the Holy Land, and I'm like, yeah, Tennessee, and they'll be thinking at the same time,
Come
uh,
on, man.
uh,
Come on,
Gaza
man.
or Jerusalem, right? Right? And you're like, yeah, New Jersey, right? Nah. I mean, the Middle East, like Middle East. You talking about Mesopotamia or are you talking about Mesoamerica? And why they use that interchangeably? You know, if you look at the culture and the stories, it's very close. I mean, two twin brothers, one evil twin comes, subdues the righteous twin. The culture falls and begins to sacrifice their babies and things like practice solstice worship and
In the land of the gods.
ooh, or the land of
Who
gold,
said
El
that?
Dorado, the city of gold, or the fountain of youth. Those stories took place here.
In the land of the gods. Who keeps saying that?
The land of
Who
the
keeps
gods. Are you
saying
talking about Colorado Springs, where my
Ah,
cousin took me? Where it was a garden that they basically said looked like it was designed by God or the gods. Yeah,
that?
exactly.
and what's
Exactly. So
interesting is you got Manitou Springs. Manitou's an Algonquin word. Damn, what does Manitou mean? I think it mean spirit,
you got me on
I
that one.
believe.
You got me on that one. I'll take your word for it though. For
Hmm.
sure. For now.
But yeah, so that's why we're saying, yeah, what is it about us and about the U.S.
Okay, can we talk about who stands to lose if we discover our identity? Just a brief brush over of who stands to lose. The U.S. corporation stands to lose their trust. So I just wanted to address that because they got land banks that they run off of,
I'm
and
glad
they got a trust that they issue Federal Reserve notes based upon what's in the trust. So if the what's commonly called citizens, what has been misnomered black
okay.
people, come to an understanding of who they are, then that trust would be emptied and that land would be claimed.
Before we can even address the trust again, let's give them the little backdrop. Let's tell them about the gun line, boss.
Oh.
Let's tell them how we got here. People like Walter Ashby Plecker,
But we
Pecker,
know
I
it
mean
starts
Plecker.
before him.
Well, it was solidified in this day and age by him.
Yeah, true.
He did have predecessors, absolutely,
Right.
because I'm showing this kind of in backwards order. So thank
It's
you.
like,
Go ahead.
yeah, you can start with him and work your way back.
Wait, uh, there's more.
No,
You're
I'm not
absolutely right.
saying that you
No,
have,
look.
I mean, I'm not saying that you have to show other people. What I'm saying is like for a reference, like if I was talking to someone about this, I would say, yeah, start with Walter Plecker and work your way back. Because like you said, there were incidences that happened prior to that. But like you said, what he did solidified.
And we can toggle because the early concept of what he did is right here. An act declaring
Mm-hmm.
that what persons shall be deemed mulattoes.
Mm-hmm.
Now here goes where the Moors' involvement is, because where's the phraseology or terminology come from? The Moors refer to a person that was of mixed descent as a mule, like you would when you're breeding a quarter horse with a donkey. You get a mule. So a person of similar conceptual origin, right, would be called a mulatto because that's
Mm.
where the origin of that term comes from. So in 1785 is when they put this act into place. And it basically provides the legal definition. And it's dealing with people of indigenous descent in this land.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Yeah. A collection of all the laws of Virginia from the first session of the legislature in the year 1619. Whoa. So we're
Mm.
going even further back.
1619.
And
That was the
then,
real project.
so we know we're talking about Virginia, right? That's where I was trying to, yeah, thank you. Exactly. But here's something that deals with the
Virginia.
publishing in Philadelphia where the information was transcribed and stored, I guess. But it says, an act declaring what persons shall be deemed mulattoes, be it enacted by the General Assembly that every person whose grandfathers or grandmothers anyone is or shall have been a Negro. There goes another term linking to the
Mm.
Moors. Okay, negro in the Spanish or Portuguese or the French, negro. Well, actually in French it's noir, right?
Mm-hmm.
Noir. So negro, although all that is progenitors except that descending from the Negro shall have been white persons, shall be deemed a mulatto. And so every person who shall have 1/4 part or more of Negro blood shall in like manner be deemed a mulatto. So now this is 1785. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go boom, boom, boom. Walter Ashby Plecker. Sorry, I'm gonna rush through this a little bit, y'all, because we've talked about these things, and Dan Calloway goes extensively off and in and about this, but you need to do your own research. You really do,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't really sink in until you're looking at this on your own time with
Mm-hmm.
no other focus. I know the people on the panel here, we've all done it, but we're sharing this with you. Sorry guys, I know you all are familiar with this, but I just want this. This is Time Magazine. This is also what I want y'all to understand. This
Mm-hmm.
isn't some obscure publication, some dark web origin publisher that we were like, hey, grasping for straws. This is right here. Google Chrome, whatever your search engine, DuckDuckGo, whatever you use. Look, the Commonwealth of Virginia enacted the nation's cruelest, most draconian segregation law designed to preserve white racial purity.
Mm.
What a joke. The
You
legislation
said
became a model for states across the Jim Crow South and beyond. In the halls of Richmond's Capitol building, lawmakers congratulated themselves on passing the act to preserve racial integrity, popularly known as the Racial Integrity Act. The act made it a felony to falsify the racial identity. Wow, what a joke. Are you serious? Okay, I'll get through it. Sorry. The act made it a felony to falsify the racial identity of an individual on birth, death, or marriage certificates and banned marriages between whites and non-whites. Both offenses carried a sentence of 1 year in jail. Some white Richmonders, though, weren't satisfied. They worried about a loophole in the law that would dilute the purity of white blood, leading white supremacists had wanted the Racial Integrity Act in.
he froze up.
Yep, he froze up. To do so, they called for the act to erase presence of Native people in the coming decades. Some use the act to do just this, engaging in a form of, my screen is small, aristocratic genocide. Is that what that says?
You know what? Let me turn, because I'm on my phone. So let me see if I can
to recast Native people as Black. To recast Native people as Black, rendering themselves less visible. Yep.
Yeah, see, I can't see it.
Yeah, it went
I
away.
can't see it at all.
Yeah, it went away. He can't. When he's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But man, when he said draconian, it made me think.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing you might know or not know. The third richest family in the world's name is Mars. They are the third richest family in the world. They're the leading feeders of parasites. You know, parasites eat sugar, and
Mars Company.
yes.
Okay.
The Mars family
Okay.
is the third richest family in the world, and they're the largest feeders of parasites.
I didn't know that.
So when he said draconian, man,
yeah, because when he said that, I'm like, huh? Yeah.
It made me immediately think of the Mars family, and then now I'm going to have to do my own line of research to discover what hand they had in the whole colonization process.
Right. Well, okay, so like about a month or so ago, I watched Killers of the Flower Moon. So in the one scene, that movie, yeah, fucked up all the way.
I gotta see it. I gotta see it.
Like when you watch that movie, the whole time you're just gonna be shaking your head because you won't believe what these pale-faced individuals, all that they went through just to be a part of these families so they could get the money and get residual income as well. You're just like, wow, you all are fucking sick. Like you'll watch it and there will be words that won't describe what you're watching. So there's a scene in there where they're getting a lot of the Osage people are becoming diabetic because of the lifestyle, right? They're millionaires, so they can eat whatever they want, but it's starting to cost, them their health. So they're getting insulin, but the insulin's coming from Canada. But it's like they didn't necessarily say in the movie, but it seems like that even that insulin, it was laced. It was also killing them. So here they got the diabetes, but then they're taking this insulin, and it's like, okay, this insulin is laced to speed up the process of them transitioning. So these people that marry into these families, they can inherit that money.
This is what I know to be happening from firsthand experience, and I won't use anyone's name because I can't. You know what I mean? But from firsthand experience, the predominant people who receive what do you call that? When Luke, it's a treatment that once you start taking, you can't stop. When you have cancer, it's
well, I mean, I know you can stop chemo.
You can
stop. Okay. Well, I guess it depends on what type of cancer you have, how long you've had it. But yeah, you have to go through all of the different, I guess you could say rounds of the chemo. Yeah.
So they were telling me that the people who they see doing chemo are predominantly will use the word melanated. Okay.
Okay.
And it's predominantly melanated women who are receiving this treatment. And then my aunt says to me one day, she says, I would never wish that even on my worst enemy, but then get another treatment 3 days later, and then she passed about 2 weeks later. But this started me down a journey where I'm looking at these, we'll say suspicious deaths, but there was nothing suspicious, obvious. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're literally taking them into the hospital and then overdosing them on morphine. They're going into the hospital, they're talking and stuff like that. Then because of the cancer, they say they want to numb their pain and help them deal with their pain. So they'll go from walking and talking. I have four uncles. They went from walking and talking to go into the hospital because they were having a pain in their stomach. Then they were given these high levels of morphine, and then they died. But what I noticed is the land was left or sold right at the end to families that were not ours. So we lost land that had been in the family for hundreds of years. And these and I'm speaking to you, and you know what I'm saying, lady. People were architects. These people were M's and R's. You know what I mean? And we lost the predominant amount of our land to them going through those times.
Right.
People around them that were helping them their plans and write their paperwork. And we lost hundreds and hundreds of acres.
Of course. Well, that happened obviously to a lot of our people. You know, it's just one of those things where like I said, I found out about, it's been maybe about a month or so ago now, where the genealogist, when she was building my tree, she was like, oh yeah, there's this, you know, relative that you need to reach out to in Maryland. So, you know, that's obviously the good, like people that are alive are going to be able to connect you to people that have transitioned, right, if you will. So he's showing how he's related to the same people that I'm related to. So we talked for maybe about 2-3 hours, right? So then he posts on the on Facebook how he is like the 12th great grandson of, if I'm some of these names, because obviously we're all doing this relearning, right? So he was the Tayak of the Piscataway Kanoi. His name was Kita McQuan, if I'm saying his name correctly, right? So I'm looking at what he posts, and I'm like, those are the same people in my family tree. So I reached out to him, and hey, welcome back.
Welcome back.
He's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, this is probably your connection as well. So this person who I know is a relative, she did a presentation on his daughter. Her name was Mary Kittamakwan. She took her father's first name as the surname, right? Well, this Giles family, they were from England. And Mary, she's what, like 10, 11, 12 at the time. And she ends up marrying this, you know, late 30s, early 40s-year-old man. And then she's given over to Calvert, you know, who's the governor of Maryland at the time, and how this family just, you know, nudged their way in and through like manipulation and control. And yeah, like if you haven't seen The Killers of the Flower Moon, yeah, I'm eventually going to get the book. But when you watch that movie, you're like, seriously, there's going to be words that can't describe what you're watching, because you can't believe how sick and demented someone is in order to do what they did to those people so they could like get something for nothing, literally.
Jay, when you left, we read the rest of what you had up on the screen, and
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I didn't leave.
Oh, you just froze.
No.
Oh, okay.
Took it off. It took me off the feed. Like it's my channel. It's my show. But it took it off like all of us were gone. And this is the second time this has happened. Then when I reconnect through my phone, I can get on, but through the laptop, it disconnected me from the entire feed. So if the feed was lost, none of us should have been continuing.
Yeah, because we kept it going. But what's funny?
No, I appreciate that. What I'm saying is the way that it went down, I didn't expect to find you guys still talking.
I see.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And when I keep trying to connect,
just to update you on where we progressed to, after we read what you were showing and showed how they reclassified Native people as Black, then we went on to talk about how we see the taking of the land through people in our lineage kind of suffering through different ailments and suffering through the hospital and then losing quite a bit of their land. We kind of
Mhm.
transitioned to building on that.
Along with losing their life or
Yeah.
almost losing their life. But then it's funny because when you started reading that about the Racial Integrity Act, you mentioned Draco, and we were like, oh, huh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Draconian laws, yes.
Yeah, draconian laws.
You know, one of the third richest families in the world brought back to my memory when you said draconian law. One of the third richest families in the world is the Mars family, and they're the leading parasite feeders that the world has ever seen. They made sugar a thing. They are the family that made sugar at this degree a thing. Draconian law.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah. I would the other thing I was gonna go into was the information on the Trail of Tears, the Homesteading Act, and prior to that, the Indian Removal Act. I mean, we've talked about the land banks. We went and we exposed for more information on the Grange. Those aren't familiar with the Grange, look up the Grange in your area, and you'll find the involvement of land grabbing, and those who try to maintain the appearance of dignity that are involved in that disgraceful action um, among you. Just so you know who's who. It's important to remember that, especially in times like this, because oftentimes those people are involved in fundraising and the representation or representation of old plans as something new when there's a catastrophe going on, because these people believe that the time to invest and make business moves is not when things are going great and predictable, but when there's blood running fresh in the streets. And that would be like comparable to people starving or about to lose subsidies that they've come accustomed to building their lives off of or around. You know, whether we think that's lazy or not, it's not really relevant. There are groups of people, predominantly from Europe, that utilize these systemic subsidies, and they're getting ready to lose them. In some instances, they have already lost them, and they live around indigenous people. And so when indigenous people feel overcrowded and they go to defend themselves because they are culturally being discriminated against or infringed upon, then they try to utilize, force or reinforcements to come in and, you know, implement those draconian measures.
That's why it is so, the word that has come to mind, vital to do your genealogy, because it's dependent on your vitality, your life, literally. I mean, it's funny because when I look back of why I started being inquisitive and asking like my mother, father, elders, like what was our background, I can only remember is because when I hit going to school, because you got people talking about, oh yeah, my family's, I can very specifically, there was a girl that I went to school with, and her name was a name that I had never heard before. And I remember her first and her last name. And I remember her saying that it was Dutch. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, 7 years old. So then just going back home, who are we? What are we? So when people say that, oh, identity doesn't matter, who you come from doesn't matter. Well, what is it about us here in America that they've had to racially classify us how many times if it doesn't matter? Why do you not know who you are? Why are you given a false narrative of that you come from a place that you may not come from, and then come to find out a man that wrote a miniseries back in 1977 by the name of Alex Haley. He plagiarized the book by the name of the book is called The African, written by a man by the name of Harold Calander, who was, Caucasian. He wrote the book in the late 50s. Alex Haley, he plagiarizes that book. And in 1979, they settle out of court because Harold Calander sues Alex Haley for plagiarism, right? So, and then, of course, back in 2016, 2017, the works of James Baldwin, of what he wrote regarding I'm Not Your Negro, came out. So right around that time was Black Lives Matter. And then here comes James Baldwin's work coming out talking about I'm Not Your Negro, but you got us protesting in the street, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Okay, well, James Baldwin said, I'm not your Negro. So regardless if you say Negro or Black, it's the same thing in obviously Spanish, Portuguese, or English. So it's so important to do your genealogy. That is the key to unlocking who you are, who your people are, where you come from. Because what is it about us? What's that?
Where your land is.
Where your land is and the natural resource. There's a brother that I enjoy watching, and he was doing a presentation, and he just happened to go on a website showing the area that he lives in and just showing all the different, natural resources that are in that county or in that region where he's at. And he's like, okay, so the same thing is for where your people are from, right? But it's like I said, a lot of our people, they're not going to get it. Some of them will, some of them won't. And as the brother Dane Calloway says, he says, everybody's alarm clock goes off at different times, and that's true. But some people just keep hitting that snooze button.
That's what I was about to say. It's about to be the pressure that busts the pipes here in a minute, and then the pressure is on, and you're gonna need to know your lineage so that you don't get a corporate entity taking your land when you don't have no land and no ability to pay for it. You don't have to if you can tie yourself back to your land.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, what's a black stone? I know that's a general weird question, especially for someone that deals with crystals and stones and rocks, right? But there's literal holdings companies with that name involved with their title, and we don't see the correlation between the acquisition of the estates and things that were built on the estates that should be taken over by people who come from lineages like ours, because that would be a debt owed. Because you essentially built without permission on land that was sold to you without rights, the right to do so. So by the time those things would be taken into a setting of legal decision or determination, those things have already been sold again and flipped and bounced, so to speak,
or turned into digital land.
I don't think that a lot of people understand. I don't think a lot of people understand what is happening with the shutdown. The shutdown is a multi-layered, intentional delaying of a transition or segue into what would be right. Yeah, somebody intentionally did that. But yeah, my bad, y'all. So what I'm saying is it's not just the congresswoman not being sworn in because she wants to, disclose the identity of people on that list. There are other lists that are being skirted, hidden, discussed in
Mm-hmm.
private that would pertain to the estates that belong
Mm-hmm.
to the people by way of birthright. It's just
Mm-hmm.
ironic that the current leader of the government would go after birthright citizenship, and then people who look like us who
Mm-hmm.
should be kind of excited were scared.
Mm-hmm.
So why does that word birthright resonate with you
Because
now
they
when
don't.
you've been denying your birthright by calling yourself an African or a black person for all of this time? Now all of
Because
a
they're looking
sudden,
at it differently.
no,
See,
I
because they
know, but
don't
I'm
know, right? Because
no,
they
no,
don't know.
that's
Like when you,
but
yeah.
why don't they know when Time Magazine? This is what's pissing me off. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even like that. I don't even like to pretend to see the other side anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick and tired of talking about this, y'all, to be quite honest with you. And I'm tired of people who supposed to be us
Mm-hmm.
don't see us,
Mm-hmm.
that we want to free us.
Mm-hmm.
And it ain't never going to goddamn happen because we want to see both sides of a situation that some sellouts put us in.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck what y'all think. You're not black. And if you are
Mm-hmm.
black, stay the fuck from around me and mine. You're
Right.
not an African American. You weren't
Mm-hmm.
born in Africa and then migrated to America to become a citizen. And America
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have citizens, it has nationals. The
Mm-hmm.
United States has
Mm-hmm.
citizens. And if
Mm-hmm.
you want to be that, be that.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't be mad when they roll out this new currency and they make sure that from the age of 55 to 70, if you retired, you got to go back to work. Don't be mad about that. Don't be mad because you're a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
You're a good citizen. You do what they do. You do what they tell you do. You give up your subsidies for the foreigner come over, then they take away the subsidy from the foreigner. All of a sudden, while they live around the corner from you, what you think's about to happen?
Mm-hmm.
What you think's about to happen? I know what happened with our ancestors, David. I know what happened with the Wyandotte when they were
Mm-hmm.
overcrowded because they helped them out too many times against each other when they were fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then once everything was supposed to be, acclimated and chill, they start moving foreigners into the territory
Right.
to make the lifestyle uncomfortable.
Right.
You
For
got people
us.
that don't know how to dispose of their garbage. They don't know how to compost properly. They
Right.
don't have the same bathing habits. They don't
Right.
know how to take care of livestock in this land.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm, they don't know how to garden. They don't know how to
Not
slash and
properly, not in
burn.
this land. Not in this
Right.
land. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And
But
then
Right.
aren't thankful for the lessons that they got
Right.
from our ancestors of how to utilize it properly.
that's why I
Mm-hmm.
felt conflicted about food stamps being gone. I'm like, dang, it's the heat of winter, and this sounds like it's part of somebody's plan. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not in the heat of winter, but in the cold, when it's about to get cold. But then
Mm-hmm.
I thought about it on the other hand. Do you know how long they've been poisoning us through food?
Right.
So if this stops us from buying poison and causes us to go grow some food that would be
Mm-hmm.
beneficial to our health and the health of our children, then I'd rather not have them if that's what it causes. But if it
Mm-hmm.
causes chaos because people don't want to do that for whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason, you know what I mean? Whatever their reason is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
then
with
it's
you
then it's
100% on that. But what we really need to be focusing on is how to heal what's been damaged, how to undo what's been done. Because I have friends and associates that are involved with the corporate machine. Okay, I'm gonna just say it that way. That have pointed out to me articles of admission of the involvement of this government's military who innocently at first poisoned the groundwater then once they were notified that what they were doing would continue to create an irreversible situation, continue to dump out of laziness, nothing else, rather than proper disposal of forever chemicals. And so that's what we're getting back. There are cases in New York State and other states and territories of environmental genocide.
Flint.
See, we could talk about the processed foods. We could talk about many different ways, right, that they poisoned our direct food supply that we've really shouldn't even think of as food, but because of the way we've all been programmed, we've just accepted that as food. But even the natural food that our ancestors once grew is affected by decisions and actions that they've made and taken. And that's what we will be getting back. So we need to be focused on like I'm put it, how can I put this? Like they're hiding out right now, okay? Please don't be mistaken to think that these people are just on vacation and deciding who to fire. No, this is a hiatus of a different sort.
They left for the Bahamas before COVID started. They left the Bahamas before COVID.
For real. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but this time it's to come back with a whole new resumption that will not be like a resumption. It'll be more so like, here's the new program. But you didn't ask us. Yeah, we didn't have time for all of that. So here's what's going on. Here's what we're about to do to you next.
So starve them out and then feed them. What is that? Problem action. What is that? Problem reaction.
Yeah, no more taxes, guys. See, we fixed it for you. No more this, no more that. Wait. We gonna act like the last 6 months didn't just happen. Oh yeah. And to be careful how you talk to us. We might roll out another disease if we so choose to. You see, it's funny when the biblical vials all of a sudden become a cryo lab where you froze, for example, something like polio for 60 years so that you could bring it back at will and then withhold the cure because you've already released the cure. You've already eradicated that as an issue amongst society. So you're going to reintroduce it as a punishment?
Man,
as a distraction?
They showed this, and I don't know if nobody caught it. And they were talking about COVID-19 in Japan on TV shows in 2014, 15 on a TV show. The patent office has patents for it before it ever hit. And they just did a release on the fact that the vaccination, they just did a government release. Like it was on that, where the panel get together and they ask questions of all of the people. So they presenting that COVID is being spread to mothers into fetuses. They're putting it in the food. The effects on all of this was just released to the public. So here's the thing, though. So you can tell me, you can sit before me and tell me that millions of people died at the hands of it, but ain't nobody being held accountable yet. You can tell me on public TV. This is how I'm saying this to say, how far have we got scared of them? You know what I mean? How far has fear gripped people? They sat in front of you today and said millions of people died because of this decision that they used the word the government was responsible. They say the government is responsible for this.
Bro, what you're saying is so poignant and powerful to the reason why I just went off a few minutes ago. Because we will react to George Floyd and the narrative of I can't breathe, but we will not react to the mass slaughter through disease. We just read, y'all continued. Thank you for doing that too, by the way. The paper genocide or the bureaucratic cleansing of an ethnicity of a First Nations group of people that is reclassified now.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go out there and say that those lives matter. But when one of us, talking about the three of us or someone like us, comes to you out there and says, this is who you really probably are, you say, you self-hating Negro. You use
Mm-hmm.
the old terminology that was
Mm-hmm.
ironically used to replace your identity. And then
Mm-hmm.
say, or some of you say, oh, well, I'm a Christian now, and that's primarily what's important.
Mm-hmm.
Not even understanding that to someone who's been educated, not programmed like us, we had to re-educate ourselves. Understand that the Christian name has everything to do with the context of being property. Even if
Mm-hmm.
you don't view yourself as a slave, it means something or someone owns you, and it's not talking about the Most High God. Sorry to break it to you.
No, and then if you want an example of this for real, where you can really see this, so you can get it, go to a Jehovah Witness and ask them, a Jehovah Witness, what are they to God? And then ask them, who is acting as God in this earth? Now, if they're transparent, they're going to tell you that it's 12 white men. So, I mean, and that's what they're referring to as God. You know what I'm saying? That is their reference to God. They are a slave. They'll tell you, we are a slave to God. And then you ask them who God is, or you can trace it through up the top, because some of the lower level people don't know. You ask them who God is, and there is a seat of 12 that have a checkbook that's endless. They can write you checks for any amount that you want. And these 12 white men are who they refer to as God, and they're promulgating door to door. They're one of the only people still going door to door to this day to promulgate that. And I'm just going to leave it there. No judgment to y'all. No judgment to y'all. I'm just telling about the inner working or organization. That's all.
No, absolutely. Man, when we get Groove back on with us, we're going to talk about some of their recruitment practices, throwing events where they'll get talented musicians and up and coming so-called stars to perform, but they're not even plugged in. They just got them up there for eye candy, literally, so that they can choose which ones they're going to recruit for what within their little organization. And they check for people that believe in fringe, what they call fringe theory concepts, like extraterrestrial life among us and things like that, so that they can see who's ripe for the picking. And until you know from your connection to someone that's inside that, you know, there are individuals with razor sharp teeth and stuff like that that
Draconian.
probably, yeah,
like what you read, the people who implemented the change from Native American to Black. The same people is in there.
right.
In there.
Yep.
It
Or
has been.
American. Yeah, absolutely. And some people wonder why, you know, we might say something in a conversation with someone we're familiar with, you know, that we can have this dialogue type with, that they're not really an American, but they're definitely a U.S. citizen. You know, and they might say, well, why are you saying I'm not? I'm just as American. No, are you really?
Right.
Because, I mean, at least 2 First Nations, a possible third we discovering right now, right? Because, and
a third.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, I did hear back from a nation today, and I gave them to where they could access my ancestry tree to verify. But he said that he verified he didn't see anything, but he would like to see the tree. But I was trying to send him the very first tree that I had, but I don't have access to it, so I had to ask permission for it. But yeah, there's more to uncover because we've done our grandparents' father's side. We haven't done their mother's side yet, and I haven't done my father's side yet. So you haven't done your father's side yet. You haven't done your grandmother side yet. So there's still so much to uncover, not only obviously for us, but even a lot of our, brothers and sisters that are starting. But yeah, that's the thing, because there's going to come I was talking to a cousin on my father's side about this yesterday, and she was saying, there's going to come a point in time, because of how AI functions and how expensive it will get, to where, yeah,
Right.
people will say, well, that's too much, I don't want to pay for it. Or they'll go on to get an answer from AI, and AI will tell you who and what you are. And it's like, so yeah, I mean, for who it's for, it will be revealed. And yeah, some people will just keep hitting that snooze button, snooze button, snooze button. And some people will finally wake the fuck up, turn that alarm off, and say, I'm not hitting the snooze button again.
I hope you fools don't turn on each other. I mean the people that turn on each other. I hope you people, let's put it like that. I hope that people do not turn on each other. I hope you turn on your common enemy. I hope you don't turn on each other. When you get hungry, when you're in need of some land, when you're looking at the struggles that we're going through, I hope you don't look at the person down the street like, oh, they might have some food. I hope you look at the fool who put you in this position. I hope you look at the people who did this to you. And you turn and blame that anger to where it's supposed to go. Don't do like the gangs. Start out as a vanguard for your people, and then after you start out as a vanguard for your people, you let somebody infiltrate you and then get you to fight and shoot each other. Don't let this be the modern day example of that.
That's exactly what I was referring to by the overcrowding methodology. It's not always germ warfare. It's not always direct combat or conflict in a physical, violent form, but it's just the invasion of space, the overcrowding and overpopulation of areas that are underserved as it is. And
they're going to add fuel to the fire.
Right.
Obviously on purpose.
Hey, I seen them European bikers up here, Antifa trying to come up in them little riots they had. Antifa came with the little hoodies down and the thing, allegedly came with the hoodie down and the mouth thing up. You know what I mean? And they're trying to start incite riot. Them bikers came up, them long beard, fat belly. You automatically assume they was racist. They came up there and got the whooping on they was not allowed that to happen, and it did not occur.
Well, just like a class that I was in today, it was confirmed that during BLM, there were bricks, pallets of bricks dropped off here where I live and everywhere else. So the thing is that you all just made me think of something. Okay, so in these communities that you were just mentioning, where there were other people from other places that moved in, right? Okay, they may be melanated along with the melanated people that were already there, right? But it's status. That's the difference, right? See, the status of the people that were already there isn't the same as the people that are coming in. So see, that's the other thing that we generally don't comprehend, is because I'll tell people, I'll say, hey, anybody from the continent of Africa that anyone from present day India that ask them what their status is, because guess what? I've done it. And it's not the same. So with that said, it's like they want to group them in with us to benefit, because they'll use, like you were saying earlier, they'll use same words interchangeably, right? But then when you look at that status, it's not going to be the same. So that's why you got to do your genealogy, so you can find out if you are or if you are not tied to this land. But as long as I've lived, I don't care where I've lived, any so-called African American that I've had any kind of conversation with, and the conversation either talked about history or family, 8 times out of 10, that person said, "Oh yeah, my elders told me that, yeah, we were Indian from Alabama or Mississippi or Florida or whatever."
Bro, I got one for you. I had an uncle named Bussy, okay, living in a little country town called Bellington, Tennessee. Okay. He didn't let nobody in his house except to his living room. And he used to say, because he got stuff that he just don't want broken. He would allow us from time to time to go look, and it just looked like cool stuff, but I never connected the dots. Uncle Bussy died. So they invite me out to Uncle Bussy's house to see if I wanted anything. Man, I go in there. This man got native everything in ways that I don't even have to explain. It's like a tree log cut and then designs painted on the tree log. Native American. It's feathers everywhere. It's pictures of him and a group of men and a bunch of horses that remind me of every Western movie I done seen where they take a picture of them standing next to the horses and running the horses and all of that. He got picture after picture after picture of straight melanated men in the same same actions. And I'm like, so, and then all of the faces on these Indians that he painted is heavily melanated. And I'm like, do y'all know what y'all got right here? Do y'all know what this is?
Right.
And they like, whatever, who wants it?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
are you sure that they weren't Moorish?
They were M's, but not Moors.
Same thing. No, I'm joking.
Oh.
Yeah, lodges, but not the sweat kind.
Oh.
No,
it's just funny where, I mean, like because when I was 17 or 18 when my elder cousin told me specifically, she was like, "Oh yeah, we're Wyandotte," and being from Ohio, I've heard of them, but it always stuck in the back of my mind. And then a year ago, when the genealogist has the report for me and all of the information that goes along with it, she was like, "Oh yeah, this just confirms what your elder cousin told you was correct." And then she's showing me who, and there's a book called, what's the title of it? It is Barnett, the Converted Indian, and His Two Sons. I might not be saying it verbatim, but it's something along those lines. Well, this book is a narration of the conversion of our fifth great grandfather to Christianity, right? So there's a depiction of him and one of his children in this book, and he's heavily melanated. Now, what she found is that his father was Scottish, right? But we know that the indigenous Scottish people were melanated people, right? Yes. So we're going off of names, right? We don't have pictures. We have pictures that go so far back, right? Because obviously when photography was, invented. But it's just interesting that, like I said, when you start doing this genealogy, when you go over to Uncle Bussy's house, go over to Aunt Billie Jean's house, go over to cousin Marvin's house. And it's funny because a lot of aunts, even relatives that are still alive, they'll be sitting and sleeping on this info. And it's like, well, why? Well, because they're tied to that generation that they come from.
There was a generation of people who didn't want their tie to us to be known.
Right.
But they carry our name.
And that cuts two ways, guys. Remember that article I was sharing earlier about the mulatto designation. And then the introduction over 100 years later, the introduction of the Racial Integrity Act They made it illegal for these relationships to exist
Right.
after the fact. So you have
I got
people
another one for you.
I do too.
who couldn't claim their true heritage without
Right.
fear of reprisal through jail time, great
Right.
big fines,
Or
or
death.
work camps, or lynching, or death,
Right.
flat
Like
out
I
being
was
eradicated.
fooling around on Ancestry about a month ago. I know how because I found it. Yeah, we always say, I don't know. If something told me, well, that's something that told you was you, your higher self. Anyway, there's this woman I came across, and I'm like looking at her family tree because it's obviously public. So then I'm going up her tree, and I'm like, hold on. Those are my fourth great grandparents. So her fourth great grandparents, or no, my fourth great grandparents are her third great grandparents. Then I come back down the tree. She's got Justin and I's great grandmother and our great grandmother's sister in her tree. I was like, oh, this lady's definitely related because you got my great grandmother and her sister in your tree. So then I go back up and I'm like, Justin's mother told me of this family surname of ours. So I'm like, oh wow,
What's
these
up,
people
Drew?
like most of these folks were they're basically all German, right? With the exception of one. One ancestor was Irish. But I said all that to say is that this cousin, I gave my number and was like, yeah, I'd like to talk to you. Ain't heard from him. The cousin that I discovered the Dutch ancestry from, never heard from him. I don't have the hang up. And then even there was a news article in the cousin that we share the German ancestry, this relative in Ohio, I'll have to go back and look at it, but it had something to do with voting and racial classification, right? So it's like, these people, because I got Justin and I have some relatives that, of course, when we look at them, doesn't matter how lighter complected they are, how light their hair is, how quote unquote straight their hair is. For an example, someone pointed out, and I'm going to say her name because she's public, Carrie Underwood, the country singer. Next time you're bored, go Google Carrie Underwood and get a Google pic of Carrie Underwood and look at her real good. You'll see it. So you'll see these individuals, right? And then when you start doing your genealogy, you'll say, okay, it's not to say that, okay, you have a lighter hue because you have European ancestry, because when these melanated Europeans and these non-melanated Europeans were coming over here, they saw lighter complected American Indians up and down the East Coast and the Gulf Coast. So that's prior to any intermixing that took place.
And I just this leads me to what I was going to add on to what you were saying. There was a John Manuel. I don't know if you remember this, Jay, but when I was looking back through my lineage, it was a John Manuel, and the John Manuel was asking the court. It was a court case. He was asking. This was a European man. Is asking the court to accept him and give him the rights that an Indian has.
Oh wow.
And he was granted that, but that's because he married a woman that was not a Manuel, and I still don't know what her name was. You know what I mean? But I think her name was she was melanated. I know that. I got a picture of her in my mind. I just can't think of her name. You know what I mean?
Now, is this a direct ancestor of yours?
Yes, that would be my third great grandmother. It would be my grandmother's mother's mother.
Okay.
And so when she got with the John Manuel then asked the U.S. to be accepted. But why would he ask that? Like, I thought that they were in a better position in the country. Why would he be asking the court to be accepted as a native? You know what I'm saying? I still haven't fully wrapped my brain around what was going on there, but he was acting like they had more privileges than he did.
Because we did. Because there is a video that came out. I've watched it twice on PBS, like shorts, something like that, right? So it's about a man who was a Sikh from present day India. Well, he was educated in England as, of course, over there they call barrister. Over here we say lawyer or an attorney. He said he wants to go to the United States, but when he gets over here, he wants the status of white. So this man, I forget his name, he enlisted in the army and fought in World War I. When he came back, they denied him. But I have to go back and watch the video again, or you all have to see the video. But he eventually got the status of white and became a U.S. citizen. Mm-hmm. But see, what you're talking about is before that. But see, they flipped the script on us, right? It's like they with the racial various racial classifications, it's like they're always flipping the script on us. And I remember I talked to a guy from East Africa a few years ago, and I said, "What's your status?" And he like looked at me. Eyes got big, like, "How do you know that?" It's like, "Yeah, I know. It wasn't anything to like. It was just in conversation. It wasn't to like call him out or anything like that. But I mean, because my thing is like, yeah, I know there was the one guy in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s in New York that was shot by the police multiple times. Come to find out, I believe he was a Fulani from Guinea, I want to say he was from Guinea, right? But typically, why don't Africans, people from India, Pakistan, anywhere where there's other melanated people, why don't they have problems getting business loans and home loans? Yeah. And I mean, because
the red.
Great point.
It's because the redlining associated with their status.
Right.
We have a red line. They're on the other side of that red line.
That red line, exactly. So because of obviously status, so a lot of them are more melanated than we are, right?
Ironically, to be in the good status, right, business wise, is to be in the black. When you're operating in the red, that means you're at a deficit. And these are terms that we've just become programmed and inundated with over time to skirt what's really being said.
Mm-hmm.
It ultimately, the thing to be in business would be black, right? But they don't want to let the ones that they call black people to dominate in the business square or circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the game psychologically that we are being played with, and yeah, man, and we don't catch on.
I'm sorry. I was reminded of the antics of Charlie Kirk. Okay, and he said, "You're lazy black people." You know what I mean? That type of. Let me not say he said that. Lazy black people. If I was to say this, the reason we're in the situation that we're in is because it's a bunch of lazy black folks. Everybody would definitely call me self-hating then, but the humor in it is this. It's a fact. You don't want to do your own paperwork. You don't want to do what it takes to find out your lineage. You don't want to do what it takes to have your bills that are already paid for written off. You don't want to acclaim your land that you have accessible to you. And that means that you are up under a status that's not your own. So if I said the reason you're in the situation that you're in is because you're a lazy black person, then I wouldn't be saying anything wrong.
Right. And like we talked about on the previous show, the only reason people had an issue with Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was the fact that he wasn't addressing people associated with his status about their ills and their shortcomings and their lazy aspects and all of those things. But it doesn't mean that he wasn't speaking truth to power as it pertained to the issues of people who come from our true status and our true background that have been misnomered. Like even the use of that terminology by him shows the ignorance that he was under, right? That and we call that ignorance privilege. But calling a spade, it would just be calling it ignorance. He didn't know no better. Because if he knew better, then he'd be gaslighting. You know what I'm saying?
The common consensus is he was saying things that were true, but we'd rather have heard it from Candace Owens. So that's
no, because Candace was saying the same exact things that Charlie was saying. They were two peas in the same pod with different genders and different complexions, and she caught the same hell, if not worse. The worse hell.
Well, that's the thing. It's like nobody wants to take accountability. It's like,
right.
Okay, I get it that, of course I get it, because I'm affected by it, that things happen. But I'll tell this story that pertains to 10th great grandfather that I was like, huh? So this 10th great grandfather, he wasn't the Tayak, the emperor, chief king of the Piscataway Kanoi at time of European contact. His brother, who would be my 10th great uncle, his name was Juanis. So Juanis, when he's English, came over here, he's like, let's ride on these fools. I'm not trying to become friendly with them. How about you get on your sailboat and go back where you came from? Because I don't want you here, leave. And if you don't, I have to ride on you. Well, my 10th great grandfather killed his brother. And I'm like, hold on, this happened in my family, in my bloodline? I'm like, oh, wow. Like, this is interesting that you wanted to get chummy with these individuals your brother did not want to because you didn't want to go to war, but you killed your own brother. And from what I have read from the couple of presentations that I watched, there was like no retribution. He didn't suffer. There were no consequence for him because, some of the people in the nation, they were mad, but nobody seemingly did anything about it. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting, because I seen another video that PBS put out, and they were talking about the Maroons and the Great Dismal Swamp. Well, the Great Dismal Swamp, as I know it, is what we call, North Carolina, South Carolina, goes into Georgia, but it was more specific to North Carolina, South Carolina. So they're talking about these Maroons. And I'm like, hold on, because I've never heard anybody say anything about quote unquote Maroons in North America. It's always been pertaining to Jamaica or Suriname, right? Or I know in Brazil, they say Maroons, but they say Quilombos, meaning like runaway communities, right? So, okay, you're talking about, and then you're saying enslaved people, but you're giving the connotation that they're African. And I'm like, hold on. So in this area you're calling the Great Dismal Swamp, you have the Skarure people, who we say Tuscarora, and you have the Creek people, which are really the Yamasee people. So those people, those nations, the Tuscarora Wars and the Yamasee Wars are documented. They are documented. Those people, they fought. Yeah, of course, there was times where they hid in the swamp because of survival. They had to do what they had to do. But those nations, they fought. So they weren't hiding in the swamp singing, "We shall overcome," and "Swing low, sweet chariot," and "If it's your will, Father." No, they fought. They fought. So if you want to know about that, look into them, and that's the other thing. All of us fought. All of us freaking fought. There wasn't a time where we weren't going to have to fight, right? So when you look at every war that, is documented, and the ones that, obviously aren't documented, because there was always some kind of conflict, just like today. Domestic violence,
Right.
or your neighbor doing something, like, it's funny, you put all these things into perspective in the modern sense, right? But all of this stuff was always going on. But we don't, I guess, look at it like that because we weren't living at that time. But when you start to do your genealogy, when you start to peel back the layers of the onion, and you're like, okay, these disputes were going on, but we were getting pushed away. And then we had people in our own nations that were, selling us out, killing family members. It's just, you're just like, wow. And these things go on today, right? But it's because of allowing people to come in and infiltrate, because a lot of these people that came in and infiltrated, they have a similar hue as us. They're not us, but they have a similar hue as us. So they use that obviously to their advantage to get in, mingle with us, and then get into the bloodline. That's why I say when you watch Killers of the Flower Moon, you're gonna like this shit was like systematic. So don't think that English man, Spanish man, Dutch man, Portuguese man, French man comes up on the shore and he sees these lovely women and he's like, oh yeah, nah man, this shit was systematically planned to freak out. I'm not saying that didn't happen, right? But like this shit was planned the fuck out.
Yeah, it's like when you get together with a group of family or friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you all discuss a game plan of how you're going to approach, let's say, even opening a business.
Mm-hmm.
Their mindset was never the same as ours when it came to those relationships, familiar or otherwise. Think about this. A lot of the ones who escaped the prosecution and persecution, whether it was religious or criminal, of Europe that came over here, their relatives were on the thrones, wearing the crowns. So right then and there was no loyalty because it was like they cut us off. They don't view us as family. We're just another subject. So to come over here to get into the ties to land, the ties to the enrichment and the wealth that was here, it was just their children were tools. That's how they viewed it. I'm gonna knock her up. That sucker baby is gonna be my key to getting this estate.
You make me think of the Jesuits and the orphanages and the that whole time. Those parents are lost their lives, and those children ended up either being forcefully engaging in childbearing, or they chose to engage in childbearing.
Yeah, it's just like you hear the young lady that came on Oprah back in the day, and she was happened to be from a Jewish family, and Oprah kept saying, "Well, not all Jewish families practice this." She said, "Well, of course not." But the one that she grew up in, the young lady said at the time she was a young lady, that her family had members that bred children for sacrifice. They bred them within their own loins. I'm saying the women carried the babies to term. The men impregnated certain women on purpose to raise these children up to a certain age and point to do certain things to them because of their spiritual beliefs and convictions. So we're talking about a society for the propagation of the gospel. It didn't say of Jesus Christ. It just said the gospel, and then it said to promote Anglicanism. What is Anglicanism?
From the Anglos?
Right. And what was their practice traditionally within their cultural groups? We can look into We can look in the incest and the whole and the like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this stuff was introduced to the people of this land
Mm-hmm.
by people who were propagating such ideas and practices.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I want to go into an alleged explanation. Allegedly, there are several places in Detroit, but
Mm-hmm.
there's one specific place in Detroit where they had a school. The
Mm-hmm.
school got underground tunnels to this day. It's got underground tunnels that run beneath the school, and the schoolhouse is empty. And I will not say the school just because I don't want looters going in there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But so it's got underground school and things like that. When I was a child, I attended there.
Mm-hmm.
When I went in there, it was late night. I missed latchkey. My parents didn't come to pick me up, so they put me in the nunnery. When I got to the nunnery, I looked down the hall. It's a little girl looking down the hall back at me. And you know, children, when you see another child, your immediate reaction is you want to go to the child and
Right.
start talking and stuff. So we walk into each other. They grab her in the hallway and push her down to the other side of the hallway. And then I see another young lady, don't know how old she is, but she got the pregnant belly. And it didn't make no sense to me. How are you a nun, you Sister
Wow.
Mary Clarence, with a belly, a baby bump?
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of factories. I hate to use that term, but just like they call them puppy mills,
Mm-hmm.
that's how they would breed certain people, types of people that they wanted to put their imprint on. And
Right.
oftentimes you would have orphanages filled with children that belonged to a group of men that all knew each other and belonged to the same, organization. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to look, what is James? I want to say James 1:5. Y'all can correct me later if I'm wrong, but pure religion and not defiled is that you would care for the widow and the
What is
orphan.
and the orphans? Mm-hmm.
So what is their real religion?
It's not caring for the widows and the orphans, the widows and the orphans.
We got a different idea of caring.
We got a different idea of care. That's all that is. Yeah. Just like we have a different idea of discovery.
Right.
We have a different purpose for doctrine and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And this is.
You all just made me think of. I think it's still on Netflix, and I believe the title of the documentary is called "The Keepers," and it's about a Catholic girl. It's all girls Catholic high school that was in Baltimore. And when you watch the documentary, these women, they're in their 70s now. And when they talk about going to the principal's office, who was the priest, his office was like in that area of the school where like there was not a lot of traffic. And then he had a door that connected his office to the outside. So he didn't have to go in, obviously, in the building to go outside. He could just go outside from that door. Well, he would have this guy come through that door, have a girl come down, and they would sexually assault her, whatever. And finally, these teenage girls at the time, they confided in the nun. Well, they found her body on the outskirts of the city. And, these people are so, like I said, when you watch Killers of the Flower Moon, when you realize the things that are causing people physical, spiritual, and soulful harm, and then if they have other people in their family that are also tied in with this, there's no words to describe any of this. None.
Look at Lovecraft Country.
What's that?
I said, I'm telling the audience, look at Lovecraft Country, watch that series, watch The Order on Netflix, watch Killers of the Flower Moon. You know, get an understanding of the type of warfare.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about, like you said, and it's generational harm on top of what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, the spiritual, physical, and mental harm, it's generational.
Right.
Then look into, Billy Carson, and I can't remember the scientist's name, forgive me, but he's a genetic scientist that showed that our genetic DNA cells, molecules can hold over 15 million years of data, and at the transfer
Wow.
rate, a ridiculous transfer rate of upload and download capacity and capability. What is actually happening, and what is the repercussions of this AI generation?
Mm-hmm.
What is coming? I don't know if those of you who haven't already started your journey, you might want to get on it, because like my cousin told you earlier, by the time you start asking AI, waiting for AI to tell you who you are, and they download or upload all the records, if they already have it, of the records, like the Mormon church holds in the vault in Salt Lake, and then when you get into asking some of them that might be honest with you to a degree, why they have those records, and they'll claim it's for baptism, a ritual,
Mm-hmm.
of baptism in absentia, and they'll use a proxy person as a physical representative of the body of your loved one
Mm-hmm.
to put them into the Mormon church, which place them under their eldership. You got to understand the
Oh,
implications here.
like the Moors do when they sign you up and then have you sign under their UCC one, and then they have access to your UCC accounts and
Oh,
everything like
yeah,
that.
they basically have control of your estate as temporary, power, durable power of attorney, without expressing that to you, that's how they have their nationhood or state of nationhood in conjunction with the U.S. corporation.
Mm.
That's what they're doing. They're making you a subsidiary of the U.S. as opposed to your own individual taxpayer status.
Mm.
So then they should be responsible for your tax filings. If y'all going along with that, hold them accountable, hold their feet to the fire. You shouldn't have no calls from the IRS once your status is corrected, right?
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have no dealings with the U.S. directly, because now you have a liaison, a go-between, that's supposed to represent your straw man's capacity, because they've taken over ownership or control, I'll put it that way, of your straw man status. They should be the one culpable, accountable, and responsible for you. And if they don't have a military force that can enforce and protect your rights, tell them to kick rocks.
You made me think of you're talking about, you're talking about these breeding facilities or whatnot, and I'm sure they still exist.
Oh,
But
they do.
it's like, that's why what I started seeing definitely 10 years ago in commercials, where you see the melanated woman and the pale-faced man, and then they get us, I should say, in general, you melanated Americans, with that talking that rhetoric, you can't choose who you fall in love with, blah blah blah, right? And that's not to say that, who you choose doesn't necessarily mean that, it's not going to work out. But with that said, I was watching a crime show a couple of weeks ago, and it was about prison and jailbreaks. So the guy that ended up breaking out of prison and ended up getting shot by the New York State Police, they interviewed his daughter. His daughter was an attractive looking girl, right? So don't know her, but okay, as the saying goes, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? So, even if it's melanated, because this is my take also, is that just because you have a hue similar as me doesn't mean that you came from the same energy, same star system as me. And it's like procreating with people that have different energy, different vibration that is not of your own. So, in the biblical sense, not to bring up religion, I mean, a lot of people are used to the Bible, if you will. So it's just the thing where when the Bible says, don't be intermixing with people of other backgrounds, to me that means something. But a lot of people think that, a lot of things don't mean anything. And then you have a child and you're like, where in the hell did you come from?
Can I expound on that?
Oh,
yes.
Okay, so
let me touch
what
it
it's
too.
talking about is,
and I'm just and for the record, I'm just speaking generally because obviously we don't know everyone and everybody's life situation and where they come from. I'm just saying,
I'm gonna give
generally
a contextual framework for what you just said that doesn't deal with hatred whatsoever. But if you covenant with someone and bring about offspring, and let's say their covenant is with an energy or an entity that consumes children, and you ignore that, the repercussion could result in the consumption of your child.
Right.
If their covenanted energy is with an energy or entity that rules over the poor or impoverished mindset of people in this plane of consciousness, then that would be the resulted expectation. So just knowing that in and of itself, it wasn't a racial thing as some people think in a sense of, like you were saying, complexion being shared or anything like that. It had to do with, like you were stating, the energy of the
because
people
you got
from whence
melanated
they
people
descend.
that don't have the same energy. That's why we have that saying, not all kinfolk is skinfolk.
I can't hold it no more.
Hold it. Say it.
The genetic resonances of a specific area transfers over into the structure of DNA. Melanin and blood have memory capabilities. Blood up to 22 generations, melanin up to some crazy amount of terabytes of information. So if you have people who are genetically affected by the magnetosphere of their region, then they're going to know the plants of that region. Their exposure to the sunlight is going to be in a protected state as generations go through that landmass. And your genetic memory won't just be something that is in another place that you can't walk to. If you have 15 to 22 memory storage in your genetic blood, then when you remember a place in your genetics, you can walk to it. If you still live in the area, you can go see what your genetic memory is revealing to you at that time and know that it's real. Know that this is where grandma was trying to show me she left the box, or this is where the estate was. You know what I mean? When these records are in your blood, if you force migrate people away from Mississippi, North Carolina, Tennessee, and these places where they have been for potentially up to 13,000 and plus years, you know what I'm saying? Then the genetic information that they have stored in themselves then becomes a fairy tale, then becomes imagination, then becomes things that they can say, oh, something's wrong with you. You having a schizophrenic episode. You need some some medicine, man. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You need a pill or something. You know what I mean? You
Right.
trip. So even in who we are and the discovery of who we are, a lot of them places that they got up in the Colorado and up in all of these places where it's restricted access in
Right.
Tennessee's mountains, in North Carolina's mountains, where it's restricted access, and they find artifacts and everything like that there. Those are the estates that they moved you away from and hope that
Right.
you never remember.
Right.
Well, the secret is really revealed in the names that the people called themselves. You know, for example, our people name themselves as people from this place or that place, in the
Mhm.
sense of by the great hill, or the
Mhm.
people from under the woods, or
Mhm.
the people who were by the big creek or in the
Mhm.
big creek, the
Mhm.
people who lived in the big blue lake or by the big blue lake. Like, these were significant
Right.
announcements and proclamations of not just birthright, but the right of return.
Mhm.
Even if driven from those places through ethnic intentional migration, the right to return to that place restores that people to their true state.
Mhm.
Because once a group of genetic beings are removed, whether it's animal or human animal, they become something altogether different after a
Mhm.
That's
thousand
it.
years of separation.
That's
Mhm.
it. That's it.
That disconnect. So it's
Yeah.
like Terrence mentioned, okay, if you're originally from Mississippi, Tennessee, North Carolina, it's like, okay, let's get you away from this land that you originally are from, and then let's get you up into the big cities, into Detroit, Youngstown, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, where you can get a job, because obviously that was I guess you could say, the enticement of, our grandparents, great grandparents, great great grandparents leaving the areas that they were from. So then, with that said, everything in that environment changes, because you cultivated that land by, gardening. You fished that land. You knew, or I should say, your great grandfather, great great grandfather, grandfather. They knew. Okay, we're gonna catch 5 to 10 trout, and that'll be it. And then when we come back in 2 or 3 weeks, we'll catch, the same amount, because they knew that number was vital to keep that lake, to keep that stream balanced, right? Uh, Everything, even the breath that comes out of our lungs going to the trees and coming back to us, everything changed, brother. Everything,
You know,
all of that changed. So
yeah.
then you get replacements in there, like the dear sister. Shout out to Achille Yona, the my former prior genealogist. She did a video a year ago where this Caucasian woman, she said the reason why a lot of so-called white people say that they have Cherokee ancestors, because they live on Cherokee land that was given to them after the Cherokee were removed from their ancestral lands in Tennessee and North Carolina. So by virtue of the fact that you live on their land, you can say, oh, I'm Cherokee because I live on their land.
Right.
And you're not that at all. But it's like everything, the whole composition, everything, it's like everything changes. Like you just said, trauma is passed on, right?
Right.
So it's like, and this is the thing, like, here we're having this dialogue, this conversation, and I'm even like surprising myself, because this it's so intricate. It's so intricate. And I guess, maybe we wouldn't obviously see it this way if we were reared to be who we truly are. But it's like, oh wow, I'm like having these aha moments, because oh wow, I was taken out of my rightful place. But if we just even go back to our great grandparents, great great grandparents, they would look at us like, oh, this is what we've always done. but it's like a big deal to us because we didn't get a chance to live like they did.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
then-
Pardon me, I'm gonna
something
eat
in
because I'm hungry. I've
some
been eating all day, so
yeah
sorry,
something
audience.
something within what you were saying also is the destiny swapping concept. People don't
Mhm.
take it far enough. They're looking at the person next to them or across from them at work in a cubicle or across from them in the bedroom or the living room or whatever. It goes further beyond that, or even the next door neighbor. These people that moved into Cherokee land became Cherokee in their mind because they swapped destinies. They believed in manifest destiny. And like
Mhm.
I've said before on prior episodes, manifestation is just a code for man's infestation when it comes to a
Mhm.
certain grouping of people, energetically speaking. They
Mhm.
come in as a parasite, and a parasite colonizes cells.
Mhm.
They move the healthy agency of the body into areas where it is compartmentalized by trauma, while it experiences a shift in power, because not only does that trauma transfer, but power and privilege transfer as well,
Mhm.
as mindset states of being come from sets of mind.
Mhm.
Like Paul Mooney commonly often would joke, he acted like he was young, white, free, and 21. He was trying to give the game away for those of
Mhm.
us who could catch on. He said he walked around the same way they did, head in the clouds, nose up in the air. And they say, "Oh, look at this uppity so and so inward." And he said, "Yep, I'm young, white, free, and 21, and can't nobody tell me anything different."
Mhm.
But we expected to kowtow to add, what do they call it, to pronouns and things like that, rather than realize the energetic expression that's taking place and us joining in on it in our own way, taking it, riding that wave for ourselves.
Mhm. Wasn't that
You
what
get,
it was the same thing about OJ?
well, yeah, I was right. So just in that same light,
Like, mhm.
they benefited from the civil rights movement more than we did because they caught on to the concept of executive privilege
Mhm.
and how it transferred generationally by speaking it into being. And not only that, by basically correcting the narrative constantly. Okay. Yep. Connecting that narrative constantly to their current state of being and into their future projection of becoming.
Mhm.
And so that's what we've got to do and not lose sight of. Yeah, before we close out, any shout outs to anyone that anybody wants to give? I want to shout out Sheezus
Yes,
and Mike
indeed.
Groove.
Yes, indeed. I want to shout out ABBA. I mean, y'all don't know who this is, but in time, y'all will find out. I want to shout out ABBA, and I definitely want to shout out Ian to both of them gentlemen because of their revelatory information. I appreciate it.
Yes,
I'm
indeed.
gonna shout out. I'm gonna shout out the ancestors, just for the
Yeah.
simple fact
Yes.
that we, as the one brother says, I'm not gonna steal his thunder. His brother Kerry Davis says on African Americans Ain't African. I enjoy that brother's content. We are the ancestors replacement. So, we are in this realm, this reality, whatever you want to call it, as whoever ancestor or ancestors that came before us. We're replacing them to revive, to revitalize what has been covered up and what's been dormant, because it's not lost. Because first of all, it's imprinted on us, in our DNA, in our blood, right? But it's been dormant. So they'll say, "Oh, it's been extinct." No, it's been dormant, because obviously we know that the people are still here. We are those people. So nothing's gone extinct. It's just dormant. So, excuse me, shout out to the ancestors for yeah, like living, breathing, walking through us, regardless. Yeah, when times get tough, when we don't, overstand things, why things may be going on in our life, the way that it may be going on, but like we're here now. So yeah, it's like we're ahead of the game, because we know that, yeah, we're tied to this land, and we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing.
Shout out to my cousin DC. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me, cousin.
Shout out to my co-host.
Yeah, shout out
Black
to
Sun
you,
Shaman,
cousin.
as always. Shout out to the audience.
You, Mr. DT.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
yeah, like yeah, we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing. And
Yep. Peace to the ancestors. Peace to the current generations of the ancestors revisited. The peace to the Piscataway Kanoi. Peace to the Wendat Huron. Peace to the Six Nations. Peace to all that love the light of truth and want to continue to go beyond the veil. Thanks for joining us, y'all. And y'all have a great night. Like, share, and subscribe. Join our locals community on Rumble, rumble.com, Deeper Dives Dialogue, UNL, short for Unlimited. Check us out. Shout us out. Give us your feedback. Thank you so much.